Hi, I'm Marc Taddei, and that was Coco, my cat. I'm the music director of your orchestra, Orchestra Wellington, and welcome to the second part of my conversation with John Psathas. Coco is out for a walk now. Do you want a pet? No, I'm not going to give her a pet. Anyway, if you haven't heard the first part of the conversation, fear not. Both parts are self-contained. Welcome to the video. I hope you enjoy the conversation. Thank you very much. Now, maybe we should talk a little bit about the works that we're going to be doing over the next 3 seasons.
Fantastic. Yeah, well, I can take you through them.
Yes, please.
So this year, of course, we have what for me is such a treat, which is we have my two, up until recently, because I have new works now, my two kind of most favorite works, you know, and they are View from Olympus and Three Psalms, these two concerti. And it's so interesting now, View from Olympus, 20 years old.
Yeah, incredible.
You know, it's gone back quite a way. And Three Psalms is only slightly younger than that. It's about 16 or 17 years old now. And they were both written at a time when I was really confident, you know, like young confidence.
Right.
Not my mature, wise confidence that I have now, but, you know, the young, crazy confidence.
Yeah. So now you know what you don't know.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. And there's an interesting thing. I don't know if I ever told anybody this, but in Three Psalms, the piano concerto, when it starts, the very first thing you hear, the first chords, the big sort of, you know, eruption of energy that happens at the beginning, I wrote that the day after I found out I was doing the music for the Olympics. Because I was just so, my life was transformed by that moment, you know? And so that's how that concerto starts, with that positivism and that confidence and so on. But anyway, the piano concerto, I'm very excited about. View from Olympus, I'm very excited about. And of course, one of the big reasons is Michael Houston.
Yeah.
Performing.
As you know, these will be Michael's final concerto appearances.
Incredible. For me, that's incredible, really incredible.
Yeah. Well, look, it says everything you need to know about the man. The fact that he's not going out on Brahms 1 or Rocky 3, but two vital masterpieces of a New Zealand composer.
Oh, thank you. But the thing is that Three Psalms especially, you know that it was written for Michael. It was commissioned for him, and I wrote it as he developed this issue with his hand. And, you know, that was back in like 2004, it was around then. And he wasn't able to premiere it. It was such a heartbreaker, you know, even though there was a wonderful premiere with Stephen Gosling.
Yes.
But of course, since then, and thanks to you, the piece has been performed by Michael in Christchurch? Wellington and Auckland.
As well. Christchurch, Wellington, and
I'm sure it was Auckland as well.
And Auckland.
APO.
Yeah.
So, you know, I'm so pleased that that's happened. And the fact that I think that's going to be Michael's very last concert.
It is. Last concert as a concerto artist.
Yeah. So how beautiful that it's with a concerto that was written especially for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so those are the two pieces this year, and I'm very excited about those, and very excited that Claire Edwards is coming over from Australia.
Well, so Claire is a person I've worked with her. She did a concerto with me in the Queensland QPO, the Queensland Philharmonic, a few years back. And then we did Veni Veni Emmanuel with her in Orchestra Wellington a few years back as well. Percussion concerti, I love performing them. People love to listen to them, but you can't necessarily do them every year. Though, of course, we're going to be. We'll get to that. And we had such a wonderful time with her with the Macmillan Veni Veni that we brought her back, and you know she can play everything. She's a great advocate for contemporary music.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and a wonderful player. Yeah. So I'm very excited about that. And it's interesting because over the years, Claire and I have been talking about how to find a way for her to perform View from Olympus. And I think that there was a performance lined up a few years ago with her to do it in Australia. And she was coming back from overseas. I hope I got this right. And I think she fell and broke her ankle. Like she had some injury.
Wow.
And at the very last minute, it didn't happen, this performance. So this is like it's a what do you call it? The landing of a long journey for Claire as well, I
Yeah.
think. Yeah, which is really nice. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. And then in 2021, we have one as yet unwritten and one recently completed concerto. So the completed one is this percussion concerto, Leviathan, which you've mentioned, and that's been commissioned for Alexei Gerasimes, who's in Germany, who I have a very long-standing relationship with, and he is fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
He also commissioned recently a piece from me for a saxophone quartet and percussion, which they've been touring, and I've just had about 20 performances cancelled of that piece because of the corona thing. But Alexei is fantastic, and this concerto is written especially for him. And actually, I'll say a little bit about it, which is that it was commissioned to commemorate, to be part of the commemoration of Beethoven, and it was linked in with Beethoven's Pastoral Sixth Symphony, and there needed to be some relationship between the new work and the symphony in some way. So I've done that, but because the pastoral, it's Beethoven, nature, scenery, and the brook and the forest and so on. Alexei and I talked quite a bit about the environment and how we could bring ideas about that into this work. And so he plays quite a lot of what we would call rubbish, and so there's an extended cadenza, which is unbelievable, which he plays on a plastic bottle.
Nice.
And it's the funkiest, coolest kind of rhythmic thing. And then some of the writing for him is on junk metal, but real rubbishy stuff. But it just works fantastically, in my opinion.
No, you're allowed to say that. I mean,
Yeah.
John, don't be responsible for making rubbish cool again. I will say that, okay, so back in the late 60s, early 70s, pollution, of course, was a major issue in America, New York. And there were all these color photos being taken of pollution. And of course, these were gorgeous photographs. Pollution photographs really, really, really well. So ultimately, they had to say, no more color photos. They have to be black and white and they have to be more gritty. So
Yes.
look, I'll let you off the hook with this one, but don't you dare make polluting cool, okay, John?
Well, yes, of course. The intention is the opposite, of course, but yes, I get you. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so that's coming up. That's Leviathan, and I'm very excited that Alexei is coming here for that. That's amazing. And then I'm just about to start now on a new concerto for Adam Page, saxophonist from Australia, and we are very very good friends. We have a long history, and we've collaborated a lot in the past. And Adam is a very special musician. He's such a groovy player, but he's also incredibly sensitive and very communicative through his music with audience. Very special. And so we've been in a lot of dialogue trying to work out a really good process for creating the work, because he's also such a great improviser that it has to be a part of what happens, because there's his voice. It's such a strong voice. And this is something that I've had a lot more experience with since writing, this piece Omni Phoenix, the saxophone concerto, which was for Michael Brecker, and then Joshua Redman recorded it with you, of course.
Yes.
And so, that was the beginning of my time working with improvisers. But since then, I've worked with improvisers from so many different cultures in so many different ways. And I know that there's something very special if you can allow that voice to emerge within a work that makes sense. Like, it's part of the structure, it's part of the story of the work. But that voice, it elevates. It can really elevate what's going on. So I'm very excited about that. And then 2022, what are we looking at? You're getting your bread? Get your bread.
No, keep on talking. I just have to do something for the bread.
Okay. Are you going to show us the bread?
It's not ready yet, John.
Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay. You're not using a bread maker. Is this in the oven?
Yeah, it's in the oven. It's been in a Dutch oven now.
Hey, wow.
It's basically done now, but I'm going to I like a really nice crust, so I'm going to give it 5 minutes. There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
I may or may not cut this. I don't know. I'm sorry. You were saying.
It's okay. No problem. So 2022, we have 2 more concerti, and one is a double concerto for Fabian Ziegler and Luca Steffelbach, who are both from Switzerland. And Fabian is somebody, he's a young percussionist, phenomenal. And I've been having quite a lot to do with him. He's commissioned 3 things from me so far. And one is a new kind of karaoke version of View from Olympus for him and his piano partner, Akvil. And I've completely redone the backing using electric guitars, synthesizers, and, you know, like all kinds of other sounds in there. So it's more contemporary. It's, you know, it's much more modern. And that was going to be premiered around now. And I also wrote a duo for him and Akvil for piano, percussion, and playback, like audio playback.
Hey, so do we need to do that as like a pre-concert concert?
That's a really great idea, but it would mean that his pianist partner would need to come out.
Oh yeah,
yeah, right. But that's definitely a possibility, man. That would be awesome.
Because, you know, we did Metropolis's orchestration of Opus 131, the great C-sharp quartet Beethoven. But before that, we had our friends, the New Zealand String Quartet, play Opus 131. So, and we had like 500 people that were clearly gluttons for punishment because it turned into like a 3-hour concert. You know, hearing 131 twice in one day. You know, but anyway, I love mixing it up like that. So you know,
let's try and make it happen. Yes. Anyway, that's exciting. I really have no idea of what that piece is going to be yet because it's too far away. Yeah. And then the last of the concerti, I'm very excited by and very daunted by, which is it's a concerto for tabla, and it's for a master tabla player, Shahbaz Hussain, who I worked with on my No Man's Land project. Yes. And Shahbaz is just unbelievable, so fantastic and so great to work with. When I was in London a few years ago, I lived in London for 3 months, and he and I were getting together and we were trying stuff out, and he was explaining to me how just the structure of tabla improvisation. And it's good to plant this seed now for the audience because they can see how it turns out in 2022, which is it's how to create a musical space where one of the great improvisers on these phenomenal instruments is able to be his best self and create a musical structure that is controlled by yourself, you know, with an orchestra. And I'm very determined to try and find a solution, which I don't think has been found yet. How to create a space where this can be amazing.
Because the nature of tabla improvisation is not as structured as 32 bars or the 12-bar blues, what have you.
That's right, absolutely. And not just that, is that when people from that tradition are playing together, the cues that they're giving each other, like there are these little cadential things that happen in the tablas that are very small, but they're very clear indicators. And some of the setups for cadences are really far away from the cadence, and they cross the time in such a way that essentially, if you're not really focused, you lose where you are. But then everybody just goes bang on the downbeat, you know, out of nowhere. And those sorts of things are kind of too fast and too complex to build into trying to create a relationship with, say, yourself or the orchestra, because it's going by so fast and on the micro level. So it's a really one of the great challenges for me. So we'll see what happens.
I can't wait. I think that's a fantastic way to finish this conversation, John. Hearing about these 6 exciting works that we'll be performing and premiering, quite a few of them, and a world premiere, of course, with the tabla concerto. But your ideas of unpacking works, your continued interest in the future of composition of art music in New Zealand with your mentorship. I can't think of a greater person to have as a composer in residence for Orchestra Wellington. So on behalf of my colleagues in the orchestra, but most importantly, the audience that comes to our concerts, I thank you very much for you joining in the fun.
Thanks so much, Mark. Thanks. That was fantastic.